Hey guys, Morgan the Rebellious Reviewer. We talk about music, books, and movies. And today we're going to be doing part 5 in the Album of the Day challenge. So, this is me and 6 of my imaginary friends who happen to be dragons attempt at the Pokemon genre challenge from Rate Your Music, where we generate a random Pokemon and a random number and pick a genre using those two things. Link to the genre table with all the genres and Pokemon types in the description, as usual. So, today's album is Huascaran by Fermáta. If I said that even anywhere close to right, I will be impressed. And the genre is jazz rock, and the Pokemon is Pachirisu. Yeah, I haven't watched Pokemon since the early days, so I'm not that familiar with the newer Pokemon's names, so sorry if I'm butchering them. Anyway, before my imaginary friends come in, I'm gonna give my brief thoughts on this album. This is a really good album. It's comprised of 4 different songs, all of which are long progressive rock epics, particularly the first one and the last one. And the production is clean and crisp, the instrumentation is wonderfully played, and they managed to convey the emotion of an earthquake destroying a country and killing like 80,000 people, I think is what they said. Yeah, this is a Slovakian band making a concept album about an earthquake in Peru. Interesting idea. And the one criticism I have is that the first track in particular drags on a little too long. Other than that, it's a good album. With that out of the way, let's get started with the voice acting, shall we? Hello, all you fine people. I'm Skyler Wing, and this is Blaze Flarington, Houdini Presto, Bolt Thunderstone, Forrest Woods, and Draven Onyx. This is the 5th video in our Album of the Day series, and our genre for today is jazz rock. When I realized the genre I would need to pick from was jazz rock, I was both excited and a little uncertain. I knew it sounded like something I would like, but I also had no idea which albums were labeled as such. Then I found out a lot of progressive rock bands are also labeled as jazz rock, and I got even more excited. After thinking about it for a bit, I chose this album by Slovakian progressive rock/jazz rock band Fermáta. This is an album I've loved for years now. It's only a few tracks long, specifically 4, but for a 70s progressive rock album, that is hardly unusual. The first and last tracks are 10+ minute progressive rock epics, with instrumentation that is definitely rock but takes several cues from jazz. Between these 2 tracks are marginally shorter songs that convey opposite emotions. Every song is beautifully produced, magnificently well played, and effectively conveys the feeling of a natural disaster ruining people's lives and the sense of community that comes after. Anyone who says prog is all technicality with no emotional weight needs to hear this album. 10 out of 10. And the award for the most passionate album review I've ever heard Skyler give goes to... What can I say? This album is incredible. I really enjoyed it too. I had no idea what to expect going into it because it seemed like a weird concept. A Slovakian prog band making an entire album about an earthquake in Peru. After listening to it, wow, this album rocks. It has energetic and catchy riffs for days, and that rhythm section absolutely bangs. The second track is a dark yet surprisingly fun masterpiece. I will say the first track gets a bit uninteresting in places, and even the last two tracks, drag a bit. Despite this flaw, however, I still enjoy at least parts of every single song on this album. 8 out of 10, this is a great album. I'll go next. Sure, Blaze. When Skyler first got this genre, I was really disappointed, mostly because I'm still the only one who's gotten a genre I don't like during this first week. That disappointment disappeared pretty quickly after listening to this album, though, because this album is great. I'd never heard of Fermáta before, but I may have to listen to more of their stuff after this, because the instrumentation on here is excellent. Everything from the guitar, to the bass, to the drums, to the keyboard is fast-paced, technical, and surprisingly fun and catchy. Also, props to a band living in what was at the time a Soviet state for showing solidarity with people living on the other side of the world. It kind of makes this album feel like a small act of rebellion. I agree with Bolt that the opening and closing tracks drag a little bit, though. 9 out of 10. Wow, and I was worried you were gonna be annoyed. I couldn't stay annoyed after hearing this amazing album. Good. Forrest, would you like to go next? Sure. This album surprised me too. The keyboards sound gorgeous, the production is exceptionally clean, and the playing across the board is delightfully complex. I think it was incredibly nice of them to dedicate an album to earthquake victims from the other side of the globe. It's a great show of solidarity, which gives track 3 on this album a whole new meaning. It almost feels like they're saying that humans as a whole should stand in solidarity with each other. There are a few moments where the instrumentation loses its emotional weight, particularly during the more intense sections, but for the most part, this album is incredible. 9 out of 10. I agree and disagree with your review, Forrest. On one hand, I agree that this album is amazing for all the reasons you already said. On the other hand, I actually think the more intense moments are the most emotionally impactful here. Track 2, dedicated to the people who died in that earthquake, is a dark, twisted masterpiece, as is the closing track. The less intense moments are great too, but they feel a bit too lighthearted for what the concept of this album is. In other words, I have the same opinion on this album as you, Forrest, but for opposite reasons. 9 out of 10. Wow, this is the most positive video we've done in this series yet. Yeah, now watch as Houdini ruins it by giving this album a 1. Because you said that, I'm gonna leave you in suspense. Like Bolt, I had no idea what to expect going into this album. The concept seemed interesting, and I normally like progressive rock, but I had to wonder why a band from Slovakia was making an album about an earthquake that happened in Peru. When I first sat down to listen to it, I admired the technical playing and clean production, but that was to be expected with prog. The real test was whether this album would grip me emotionally. During the first track, there were moments that gripped me, but it did drag on too long. Then the second track happened, and I felt like they couldn't really pull off that level of intensity despite how great everything sounded. Then on track 3, I realized something. This album is incredible. It has an emotional core that is conveyed well and is catchy in addition to being technical. Every single song is great, even if they do drag in spots. I give this album a 9 out of 10. Good pick, Skyler. I wasn't expecting it, but I'm glad you chose it. Thank you, Houdini. Anyway, I've been calculating the scores for this album while you guys have been saying your reviews, and this album gets a combined score of 54 out of 60. That makes it the highest scoring album we've reviewed yet. Now seems like a good time to mention that in tomorrow's video, we're going to rank all the albums we've reviewed in the past week based on our combined scores. This includes tomorrow's album, the 5 that we've reviewed for this series so far, and any albums we've reviewed for other series. Also, tomorrow is my turn to pick, so stay tuned. I hope you get a genre you hate. I'm sick of everyone else getting genres they like. We'll see. Anyway, let's throw it back to Morgan. And that's my video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'm Morgan the Rebellious Reviewer, and I'm out.